I'm Jim Collison and live from Omaha, Nebraska, and the offices in India. This is Gallup's Call to Coach, recorded on March 24th, 2015. Call to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you have questions during the webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available for you right below the main video window. Or if you are listening to the recorded version and have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions for small, medium, or large organizations, you can contact us coaching@gallup.com. Or use the contact page right there on our live page, again at coaching.gallup.com. And of course, don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center. That's just gallupstrengthscenter.com. By the way, at the Gallup Strengths Center, lots of coaching options as well. If you're looking for a coach, our coaches directory out there as well, and those are worldwide and global. We'd love to have you go out and take a look at those as well. You can also catch the video in both streaming and downloadable audio for offline listening if you want to do that as well. Take it on a train, plane, or in your automobile. Those are all available out at coaching.gallup.com. Pooja Luthra is our host today. She works as an advanced consultant with Gallup there in Delhi. Pooja, it's great to see you. Welcome to another Call to Coach, and I hope all is well there in India.
Hi, Jim. Everything's great. Good to see you too. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Gallup India edition of Call to Coach. Lots of things happening here at Gallup India, and Jim, just to add to your point about coaching inputs, we're going to be making our debut in the accelerated strengths coaching here in Delhi in May, and we're all very excited and geared up for that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the guest for tonight. Our guest for tonight, his name is Pradeep Vaishnav, also a Gallup certified coach. Pradeep has been a coach for has 30 years of experience of coaching, both in the corporate as an independent consultant as well. His last assignment in the corporate stint was as a senior director for HR in South Asia with Sanofi. It's a pharmaceutical company, and since then he has been an independent corporate advisor as well as coach. There's a lot of strengths-based development, and we'll be able to learn a lot from him today, because from all my discussions that I've had with Pradeep over the time that I've known him, he has applied the idea of strengths in various ways to organizations, to individuals, high potentials, people who have just joined organizations from campuses. All of those areas is where he has been very innovative about applying the idea of strengths-based philosophy. So Pradeep, it's so nice to see you again. Very, very warm welcome to Gallup India. And let's start today and tell us a little bit about your own themes, and then we'll start off from there.
No, thank you, Pooja. It's always been a pleasure to be here. And Pooja, as you remember, I was the first student of your certification course of the first batch in India. So I feel privileged that I underwent this certification in a very inaugural program. No, Pooja, talking about my own strengths, I would say I got introduced to strength philosophy somewhere in 2004, 2005. And that time I didn't know learner is my strength, but somehow or other I landed up with this book, and I did my strength test for version 1. I mean the version previous to the current one. And that time, the top 5 strengths, there is only one chain which I again carried out my strength test in 2011. The only thing which changed was in the first test, it was strategy as one of the top strengths. And when I did version 2, strategy was shifted with ideation. And I tend to agree. I mean, now knowing more deeper meaning of strategy versus ideation, I think I'm more of an ideation person than strategy to say. Of course, it comes as my strategy comes as my supportive theme. But another unique thing you will find, Pooja, is that my top strengths are, say, relator, responsibility, ideation, learner, and empathy. And out of that, if you really bucket into your 4 buckets, out of 5, 2 are more relation building, 2 are more strategic thinking, and 1 is execution, that is responsibility. But if I go further, because it's good to know yourself, and I think it was a revelation to me that when I analyzed top 10 and I bucketed into 4, I think 5 was relation building, 3 is strategic thinking, 2 execution, and influence is just, 0. So, when I started to, when I decided to start my own practice, I was wondering that how am I going to get this business? But then I realized that having my relator probably and the responsibility, I think I can do something. And with my ideation, I can offer different offerings so that, I can get the business. So, in short, I would say it's more relation building and influence is 0. That's how my theme goes.
Excellent. I'm happy you point that out. And for those that are listening, the 4 buckets that Pradeep just referred to are nothing but the 4 filters that through which your talents tend to play out. So when you talk about execution, relationship building, influencing, or thinking, those are the 4 filters through which your talents tend to play out. And the good news is, if you don't have talents related to one particular filter, it's not the end of the world. The entire idea of strengths-based development is to figure out what other talents can be used to sort of do the same task of influencing, which in your case, you're using your relationship building themes to do. So thank you for that. So on that note, Pradeep, just a quick question about strengths-based development. You've spoken about the Strengths Finder, and you took it in 2005 and 2011. The very idea of strengths-based development, which you have been using for many, many years, how has that played out in your coaching that you've done?
Pooja, if you look at combination of my 5 strengths, I think relator and responsibility, these 2 are helping me to at least initiate my coaching. Normally what happens is that when organization calls you for coaching assignments, there are 2 things. One, your relation with the organization, which matters. And second thing, when they decide that they want to engage you as a coach, normally the first call, or rather pre-coaching call, is to ensure that the coachee is comfortable with you. Normally in India, I'm sure other places also must be happening. But I've seen that pre-coaching call, when I sit with coachee and try and understand him or her, or I explain to them what is going to happen if we engage into coaching. And my relation or relator plays a very important role. And normally I've seen that in no cases it has happened that coachee feels he is not comfortable or she is not comfortable. So that is the first part. The second part where my strengths plays is that when I start coaching, during the coaching or even initial coaching, my learner helps me greatly, because understanding coachee and coachee's situation from where he or she is coming, I think my learner strength which helps me, because I quickly learn, because it's not necessarily that your industry is known to you. I work for engineering, I work for chemical, I work for pharmaceutical employees, coaches. So it is, for learner, it is necessary that you learn the environment or the situation of coaching, which gives you ease of coaching that person. So initial phase, my learner comes very handy. During the coaching, my strength of ideation. Now, ideation makes you curious, but then reframing your curiosity, you ask certain probing questions, or not probing questions, but positive questions. You ask the right question to allow that coachee to express himself or herself. So that comes very handy as an ideation, as a team. And of course, empathy helps, because then you can put yourself in her or his shoe and say, okay, how he or she must be feeling about it. And through empathy, sometimes you get to know that where I want to take this coach to, and helping him or her to frame the right goals so that we can go into the action planning. So I would say in all, I think these 5 themes are playing very well. And my 6th one, if I were to tell you, it is more individualization. And that also gives me an edge to enter into a very healthy coaching relation. So I would say, for me, it's helping me very well without creating that bias of my own coaching strength. I mean, my strengths with the coaching. So that's where I use my theme.
Yeah, great, Pradeep. I think what you've laid down for us is essentially, even before you get into a coaching relationship, the prerequisites, so to speak. One being the relationship building or the trust building, which we also spoke about in the course, that without that you will not be able to make much headway. And the second most important thing also is for a coach to be aware of their own filters. So if you're able to say that these are how my talent themes play out in my coaching style and make me the coach that I am today, it just helps you get better with time. So I think those are very, very critical. What I'm also going to ask you, and I'm going to pick your brain on the 30 years of experience you've had around the subject, is any specific processes or tools that you have put to use when it comes to strengths-based development during a coaching conversation to help a person bridge this gap of awareness about their own talent themes, and how can they apply them better?
Sure, Pooja. See, my rather use of strength philosophy is it's almost since 2008-9 till 2013, which was more at organization level, where I was working with an organization in India where there were 3,000 people. At some point of time, I realized that say engaging these people is very, very critical. And therefore, at organization level, I thought of using strength philosophy, positive psychology within the organization. Now, there, if you ask me, my objectives are very clear. Number one, introducing strength-based development within the organization. That was one objective when I decided that I want to really use the positive psychology. The other thing was creating a positive conversations among team or team leaders or the employees. How do you create that positive conversation within the organization? Third was obviously the improving the engagement. And the fourth was, it was more advanced, that at some point of time, once you create that environment of strength, can you connect those strengths with the values of the organization? So can we help employees to deploy their strength to look at the values of the organization? And I remember there were 5 values. It's like respect and courage and integrity and other things. But can I connect with? But that was a little, just a 5 years plan at that point of time. And I started with a humble beginning. Within the organization, and it is a large organization, so I did not want to go all over, because sometimes when you go all over, you lose the focus. So what I decided is that you have a team of Salesforce, around 2,000 people. Out of 2,000 people, there are on an average 200 or 300 or 500 people are less than 2 years of service. There, my priority is engagement. How do I engage them? Because once they join the organization, you really need to engage them. Those employees who are already fairly engaged with the organization, for 3 to 5 years, and they're really looking for a growth within the organization, how do I help them? So that was one section, particularly the sales. The other part was my corporate executives, my headquarter managers, those who are leading team. How do I help them? So I bucketed into 2. What we did in the field is that we ensure that those who are youngsters who are just entering into the organization, and Pooja, let me share with you, during those days, there was a huge attrition. People were leaving the organization. Say, attrition was at the tune of around 20%. So that was one of the concerns, and we were wondering that people join and leave within 2 years. And there I realized that if we really give them some positive environment, I think it helps. And therefore, what we did is that first 6 months, they have to undergo this strength test. And it was very simple. I wanted to make it simple. We used to give them, buy a book and give it to them. They know exactly, the youngsters, they are very computer savvy, so they take out the password and they undergo the test. And once they are ready with the report, we as an organization had carried out a really simple coaching model. I won't say coaching, but conversation model with their managers. So as soon as they undergo this strength test, their bosses enter into a conversation around strength. Very simple, because I can't create a band of coach, say 100, 200 people. But we just taught them how to enter into a positive conversation around strength and watch them and appreciate their strengths. So that was one part. And Pooja, you would be surprised, we did a survey after 3 years. I think this attrition was substantially controlled, I would say, in spite of the other environmental factor.
Yeah.
And it was our belief that once person is with your organization for 2 years, then retaining them for longer period is possible.
Yeah.
So we touched upon the second part of it. We created 1.5 day workshop around strength. They undergo the strength test. They stay with the facilitator for 1 day, and day 2 they are given feedback and how you use your strength on your sales role. And as you rightly mentioned, if you don't have influence, can you use your relation building? Can you use your strategic thinking? So it's exactly that we carried out. That gave us a lot of positive strokes within the sales force. And let me tell you, more than 1,200 to 1,500 people underwent this test. And then whenever I used to go for sales conference, all India, because in every region we have 300 to 400 people working there. And when you go periodically for sales conference, whenever they used to meet me, they used to talk about, and very in an exciting way, they used to talk about the strength, Later on, we realized that whenever we used to call for promotional interviews, people would, confidence will say, my strengths are this, and how do I use my strength? For me, the result was achieved. Because at organization level, I think even that psychological feeling that I know my strengths. The second thing, through another tool, what we introduced was our mid-term review. As you know, I mean, in organization, performance appraisal, and then you have periodical reviews. We mandated as an organization that when you sit for mid-term review, when you're looking at achievement of objectives, we gave them a script that what are the questions you will ask during mid-term review, and we use the strength theory. The manager is mandated that he will ask few questions around their strength, how did they use this strength, and how it has helped, where you cannot use strength, and if they need any help around this, my HR team was always ready. So that was one tool we just augmented. Otherwise, we used to have midterm reviews and conversation. But then even for managers, it was easy to review, because otherwise you don't like to review, because I mean, you have to give negative feedback or where your limitations are and all. But here, on the basis of strength conversation, I think we could bring that good conversation within the organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the other side, and on the other side, at executive level, those who are high potential executive levels, we used to develop them, putting them on live projects. in a team, cross-functional team, we used to put them on a live project. Now here, before they start the project, our HR team used to spend half a day with them. They say, now let us discuss each other's strength. Of course, I learned during certification course, but that time it was a little more informal, but nothing wrong in that. So far, you're discussing the strength. So we used to really, and there used to be typically 5 or 6 executives who are on the project. We used to discuss with them each other's strength, and we used to help them how you are going to utilize each other's strength. So that was another platform which we use for strength. And I'm sure around more than 100 executives must have undergone this process, and they really used to appreciate. Now, my another objective was that how do I create conversation around strength within the organization? So what we did, there are more than 1,500 people who have undergone this test. What we used to do is that we used to create a tabletop. On tabletop, my top 5 strengths are mentioned, which I keep it on my table or in my cubicle wherever I'm sitting. Anybody comes to meet me, even the visitor, they used to look at the tabletop and say, what is this? We say, these are my top strengths. And then some conversation starts. Now, person who is visiting me has also certain strengths. He has undergone strength test. He said, yeah, you have that strength. I also have common strength, So thereby, I wanted to create a really environment of discussing about the strengths. So I think it was a very exciting time where everyone is talking about the strength. And that's how, and ultimately I wanted to lead it to the building a culture around strength, So I think it was a very, very positive experience, I would say.
It sounds extremely exciting, Pradeep, and the reason I say that is because intuitively and cognitively both, one tends to understand that strengths-based development has its merits. But in order to actually see how it translates into something meaningful, one has to break it down. So what approach is that you have actually broken it down for different segments of the population depending upon how they would be able to translate the strengths into the work that they're doing every day. At an overall level, what you've just given is an example or a case in point of what Gallup suggests. I think we spoke about it. We have what we call the Gallup path. And that's exactly what it says, and what you've said is a case in point of that you start with identifying talents which will help you be a better fit in the role that you are. Then you have great managers who would be managing you, and that would lead to engagement. And once you have engaged employees, I think that's all that you're hoping to get in the beginning, because all your things like your productivity, profitability, customer metrics, attrition, all of this we have research that says is proven to, or it's linked very closely with how engaged or disengaged your employees are. So a starting point to engagement is that you start having those positive conversations at work. So I think that's a great story. I want to ask you one more question here, and
Sure.
more specifically around what you mentioned right in the beginning about people who were newer in the organization. I know we've had a couple of conversations around people joining from campuses and getting into corporates. So which is a part of that cohort of people who newly join. And of course, we've all been there. We know how your world dramatically changes, right, from college to corporate. And you have sort of touched that segment. Any insights around that? Yeah.
No, definitely, Pooja. I mean, as I was saying, one was organization level exposure to the strength philosophy, and the other one is the individual coaching. And once I started my practice on coaching, say from May 2013, my ideation and my learner, I think, was pushing me that, can you do it differently? And apart from my normal executive coaching, I realized that there are certain segments which needs more focus. And I could identify, apart from classical executive coaching, which in any case I'm doing it, but I realized that there are 2 other segments. One, which is transition coaching, and the second, what you inquired about, is campus to corporate. And there I realized, and Pooja, I remember in one of the evening when we were undergoing this course, you triggered this discussion about, using Gallup on educational institute. Now, that area, I realized that I was unable to enter into. I mean, I tried. I met few of the head of educational institute, but somehow other, I think little more hard selling is required. But then I realized that once they reach to a campus level, when corporates are coming and hiring them, I said, okay, till then I will not touch them. But when I go to corporate and say, hey, you engage 10 youngsters from a very good B school, can I help you? And there, you won't believe, I started with pro bono. I said, I will not charge you anything. But I really want to meet those people and I really want to work with them. And they said, okay, fine, you do it. There I realized that, I mean, typical those students, bright students, they have high aspirations, but they don't know what is the organization like, what is the corporate life like. And they really get lost sometimes. And out of 10, I would say 5 or 6 don't know, I mean, where they are going. And then if the organization is not taking care of them, then really it is a gone case, and then you create a mediocres. So I realized that, and I said, once they join the corporate, respecting all the processes of, their introduction, their induction, their various plant tools and office tools, these are all fine. But when do they start enjoying their stint in corporate? I mean, that is more important. So what I did, I gave them this test, and I wanted to explain you one case point in. Typically there was one person. It's very interesting. I mean, this bright young person, her strength was adaptability, ideation, strategic, maximizer, and woo. Now, can you imagine this young bubbling girl entering into a corporate? What sort of environment he or she is going to, or she is going to get? So when I asked her, initially her response was that somehow I find this organization is dry. You know, quite a few gray haired people I see around. You know, very senior people around. So how do I go to them and talk to them? So then I took her through her 5 strengths, and I explained to her that, look at your adaptability. The adaptability which was reflected in campus is different in corporate. There, you know, it's here and now for adaptable people. I mean, they never think about next hour or next day. I said, you'll have to really fine-tune your adaptability. It is good, but a little bit fine-tune. Because in corporates, you can't decide that today I will reach at 11 or tomorrow I'll go 8 o'clock and leave at 4 o'clock. Normally, I've seen the adaptability theme takes you to a little bit of casuality, the vulnerability part of it. So we discussed on that, and she realized, she appreciated that, yes. In terms of her woo, I said, can you use your woo and go around, meet people? You love to meet people, you love to know people. So use that skill. Whenever you have an opportunity of induction, later on again go and meet gentlemen, understand more. So, and then her ideation, strategic and maximizer. We discuss in at length about her 5 strengths and how she can really use it in corporate environment. And I think it gave a good result. When I checked on second or third call, she was finding it much better. So what I realize is that these youngsters, they have good strengths, but used in a different environment, which is more informal, the universities and college or hostels. And when they are into corporate environment, it's just they need to be told that fine-tune your strengths and use it. And they're smart enough. Then once they are on the path, and therefore here I don't recommend that more than 3 months that coaching is required. But it is a very interesting area, and I feel good about it. Of course, we can talk to institutions and we can really formalize, campus to corporate coaching. But that is one area, yes, I mean, as you asked, is an area of interest where I feel excited to work.
And I think it's a definite niche because, there are a lot of companies that do struggle with new joinees not being as engaged or coming up with suddenly things sort of boiling down or not really meeting their expectations in the next 6 to 8 months. And that could be a combination of both the culture and what they were expecting, as also how they're using their talents, which used to, manifest themselves perfectly in campus life, but they probably need to fine tune a little things and be more aware of themselves in a corporate setting. So yeah, I think that's a great thing.
And
I'm
having
actually
a
going to
dialogue
pick on
with, having a dialogue with their managers also makes the difference, Pooja, that we need to make their managers aware about this, that these are the strengths. Now it is up to you also how you want to really make use of those strengths. So you are right. It's very exciting.
Yeah. How about that second thing you said? You said something about using it in 2 areas, the second one being transition coaching. How about that? What was that like?
This is also a very interesting area where there are 2 kinds of transition. One, what happens is that somebody is moving from one role to another role. Could be sales to marketing, or marketing to business development, or I have a case where somebody moved from sales to business excellence, which is more to do with analytics and data and other things. There I realized that people sometimes fumble. They're excited about the new role, but then how to get into this? Another is there were 2 or 3 cases where somebody moved from FMCG company to the chemical company. Somebody moved from typical telecom company to banking. Now, there are a lot of cross industry recruitment happening. But then it is important that when somebody is just entering into a new role, it's good to have intervention based on their top strengths. Now, case in point I would like to discuss is that somebody was moving from international marketing based out of India to a country general manager in Egypt. Now, it's entirely 2 different roles. Country general manager role is, very operational as well as strategic role. Now, the country is Egypt. Now, Indian culture and Egypt culture. So, when this coaching came to me, we really discussed at length. And Pooja, I've developed a module which is based on 3 books. One is First 90 Days. The second is the Strength Theory. And the third is there is another book called Chasing Star, where typically it is mobility of talent they talk about. But I think my coaching on strength-based coaching has given me a lot of material to really reflect on. So what I did in this case is that this gentleman was to move to Egypt after 2 months. So I said, it's better to get engaged now, and at least let's have 2 or 3 sittings around his current strengths and how he's using in current assignment. And when he goes to a different country, different culture, different situation, because for him, he was replacing somebody in Egypt. And therefore, there would be a organizational dynamics within Egypt also. So now this gentleman's strength, if I were to tell you, this person was strategic, he was maximizer, he was learner, relator, and achiever. Now, learner and relator, I think these 2 I wanted to emphasize initially. I said, number 1, learn fast how business happens in Egypt and how it is different from India and different from your current assignment. The another thing I said, you are going into a country which is different culturally. You're taking over a charge of country general manager from someone else, and you do not know how the relations are going to work, and you are going to be an expert there. So I think you use your relator strength, and really during your visits to Egypt, try and establish more focus on learner and relator. And once you are there with the team and you see the acceptability, then start thinking about your strategic direction which you want to take. Your algorithm, you can use it. Your maximizer, you can use it. So he was so comfortable, and now, of course, it's almost 3 months. He's already been in working in Egypt, and I think he still appreciates that. I mean, if had I not known this, probably I would have just simply gone there and start working, and then you learn, you get the surprises and all. But here, this 2 or 3 sittings before transiting to entirely new role, new culture, new country, I think it has helped him a lot. So these are the 2 areas where I really enjoy working on.
Great. Thank you so much for that example, because I think we've spoken about this in the course as well. One of the ways strengths-based development can find meaning is if we are able to frame the goal or the objective as granularly as possible. So this is what I need to do. So once your goal or your criteria is clear, then you can really work towards it, as opposed to making it sound like something which is good to know. So I think all your examples have been very goal-focused, objective-focused, with exactly what you wanted out of it. And that's probably a reason why that people have seen so much value in this strengths-based conversations with you.
Absolutely.
No. Jim, do we have any? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, you are the timekeeper, so let me know.
No, absolutely not.
we did actually have, you were going to ask me if we have any questions from chat, and we actually have another Pradeep out in chat who would have known. But we have those, and he was asking particularly, he was actually a guest on Call to Coach India a month or 2 ago, and he asked this question, pitching to corporations as an individual strengths coach using strengths-based coaching. And do you have any tips as you go in as an individual strengths coach when you're pitching to a corporation? Any advice that you give them in doing that?
My whatever experience is that normally I don't go for coaching assignment pitch. I normally start with the strength theory and how I enjoyed, and I use my old experience around creating culture based on strength, or creating engagement about strength. And then once a corporate is ready to listen to that, you say, can we start with strength based coaching first? And that's how I mean, twice or thrice I've succeeded in that. Normally you don't say I'm a strength coach and I mean, can you give me coaching assignments? But the overall strength theory and how it is benefiting the organization. When you talk broadly, ultimately it boils down to coaching somewhere, So that's how it happens. I don't know whether Pradeep that satisfies your question.
And then I'd ask you, in the kits, you took the assessment, the training from us, and we give you a whole bunch of tools available in our kits. Is there one particular tool, a go-to tool that you're using, either out of the kits, or it doesn't necessarily have to be, but a tool that you're working with frequently that you really like when you're coaching, or when you're coaching groups or individuals?
I would say both, but more is individual. But when you are in a smaller group, and it's typical of my limitations or whatever you say, as a relator, for me, more than 4 or 5 is a crowd. So, I mean, but if there are 4 or 5 people, as in one of the organizations in which I've worked, I really enjoy working with the group. But otherwise, largely it is individual coaching.
And so, in the individual or the small groups, any particular tools that you've used that you found very effective in working, or a go-to tool? Every coach kind of has their go-to tool that they go with. What's yours?
I mean, see, initially 1 or 2 coaching calls are fairly standard in the sense, but now it comes naturally. when for the exam, when I did it for 4 or 5, it was not coming naturally. But it's typically the card which we use. That, I mean, first is generally the co-reading of the report, and then usually asking for any surprises, and then we deal with surprises if at all. If it is full agreement, then we move into the really the coaching cards, and we look at different. It is more claim it, focus more on claim it, and then once it is done, we look at how then you would like to deploy, and then really we take them into different situations they undergo and how they use those strengths. So first 2 or 3 sessions is around more claiming and consolidating it that he or she believes in what has come out. And another tool which I really use it is the value cards. I think in 1 or 2 cases, I would say it has worked wonderfully. When you help them, that how your strengths and your value preferences, how it goes, and then taking further how your organization is providing environment to exercise those values, and are there any value conflict, and because of that are you finding difficult. So these are the few tools which we have used in group situation. Of course, the strength metrics, we beautifully use it, and particularly when we give it to the leader, they get excited about it, and I think they take over from there.
Excellent. Pooja, I'll throw it back to you.
That's all that I have, Jim, from Pradeep, unless there are any last minutes or last thoughts around coaching.
Yeah, Pooja, I mean, as I was mentioning, there are another 2 areas where I enjoyed using my coaching. Is there are quite a few organizations, they go for assessment center, around their competencies. They put group of executives, they undergo different role plays and group discussion, and then normally the last day they have a feedback session. And I realized that apart from feedback on assessment, if you have a strength document with you, I think you can beautifully correlate the assessment output as well as strength, and that reinforces greatly to their belief in strength. So that is one area where I've seen that some of my consultant friends are more into assessment, but I say do it simultaneously, and I think that gives a beautiful conversation. So that is one area. And second, which I won't say I'm ready, but I've undergone that ESF, entrepreneur strength finder, your 10th strength as an entrepreneur, and I'm really looking forward to more practice in detail in that, and that's where I want to work with.
Very interesting you bring up assessment centers, because we come across a lot of organizations that have assessment centers, that have competencies they've been using, and they're very curious about how can we tie the idea of talents to some of these things, the assessment centers as well as the competencies. I think that's a great point that you bring out. I'm sure it's going to be helpful to a lot of the HR fraternity that would be sort of watching this. So thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Jim, that's all from my end.
Yeah, you've run out of time when they start coming in the office, and it's time to get out. And so good. I will, Pradeep, thank you for those insights. Very thorough. I can tell you're a process-oriented guy. You really walk through those processes very succinctly, and you're very clear with those. And so thanks for taking that time to spend with us. The ESF that you mentioned, we've rebranded that now, EP10, so the Entrepreneurial Profile 10 is what we call that now. It's
I
really
already
hard to
undergone
say.
this.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Even in English, entrepreneurial is very difficult to say.
Entrepreneurially.
Yeah, entrepreneurial. I still can't say it, but we're really trying to just shorten that because it's so hard to say. EP10. So if
EP10, yeah.
you'll know that from the future. And so if you're wondering, either StrengthsFinder, maybe you've come across this for the first time and you're wondering, how do I get more information on this or learn more about it? Of course, you can visit the Gallup Strength Center, just gallupstrengthcenter.com. Both StrengthsFinder and the EP10 are available on that site for you. And if you have questions or comments, you can always send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Don't forget, you can catch the recorded audio and video of this program as well as a bunch that we've done in the past, including the famous now Theme Thursdays. Those are all available out there for you as well. Those go out to our coaches blog out at coaching.gallup.com. Pooja, I want to ask you about what are the training opportunities there in India that are coming up over the next couple months? What's going to be available there for coaches who want to learn more?
Well, we just concluded one session of the Accelerated Strengths Coaching in Bangalore. The other one, like I said, we're making our debut in Delhi the week of May 11th. So that will be the Accelerated Strengths Coaching. And what I'm super excited about also is the High Performance Managers that we would be making our debut in. But that's going to be in June, towards the end of June, most likely the 23rd and 24th. But we'll be finalizing that shortly. So those are two things that are coming up that we're very, very excited about here.
Awesome, and all those are listed out as well at the Gallup Strength Center, so just gallupstrengthcenter.com. And don't forget, we do have we have meetup groups now going on around the world. We like to get them going. If one's not in your city, we got a bunch here in the U.S. and some international. Head out to the coaches blog, coaching.gallup.com, and look at the meetup tab. And while you're there, if you want to get StrengthsFinder on your phone, we do have iPhone and Android apps available for you. Just go to the various stores, search StrengthsFinder. You can download those for free. Log in with the account that you took StrengthsFinder with, and boom, they're on your phone for you. And if you're having trouble remembering them, and everybody does, when I ask people that question, what's your top 5, they can always name 4. Now you can get all 5 on your phone. I always say take a picture of it on your phone, do a little screen capture, and then make it your lock screen. The average person sees that screen 63 times a day now, and so you'll never forget your top 5, a great way to get that on your phone. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you enjoyed it, and I hope you did, please share it. All the kinds of ways to send that out, social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, those types of things, and we'll look forward to the next Call to Coach. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everyone.